how I got to commercial real estate development, and I know it's not often, though there are some people that I've met and seen in the last 6 years since I've been in commercial development that evolved or did both affordable housing and commercial development. But this truly was just simple evolution, just growth. Been a developer since 1985, started doing affordable housing development, specifically low-income tax credits in West Philadelphia in 1989. And that's what, and I had a partner, we had a company, we jumped in, we had a model. Obviously, in this setting, I happen to play that role for the architects and the engineers, the developer. So I'm the one that I've got this business model, so to speak, for developing. And so we did that, we had a model, and very quickly, that model, we were asked and invited in many instances to go national with that model. And we chose not to. And there was no reason for us, if you're in an architectural firm that's successful, that's doing well, or an engineering firm, and I know as a businessman that decision process, do we open more offices, do we go further and reach, that we just chose not to do that. But I want to say one other piece about the affordable housing development. There were, as many of you know, if you've been involved in affordable housing development, there's a lot of complexities to it. You've got social issues are in the middle of that. So for me, I'm just going to share, and it'll help you see why I ended up in the commercial area in University City. It was just a little move east, not a big one, but one reason why I'm in the location that I am. It's been and jumping to that for a moment, 40th and Market Street has been a problematic location in Philadelphia for many years. Has a long history. Was affected by urban redevelopment and urban condemnation in the late 60s and early 70s. I'm sure many of you have read articles that Inga Saffron has written early 2003 or 4, and then recently in 2015 about what happened in urban development or urban renewal there, and the decisions that were made, and everybody probably well-intentioned thought they were good. So one of the reasons I ended up in West Philadelphia was my background, where I grew up, what I experienced growing up. So I grew up in Huntington, West Virginia. When I went to my first year in high school was just 2 years after schools were integrated. I came from a Jewish family, and Jews in Huntington, West Virginia are not really like Jews in Philadelphia or New York. We were in the extreme minority. So it was a fascinating experience, and the experience was that the Jews were often put and separated with the blacks. So that's really what I experienced. So I experienced that little bite of discrimination early on and what it felt like. And then the relationship that I had, is really more sports related because I was into sports growing up. But I really had an experience of what people felt, and particularly in the black community. So there was an affinity and a comfort level. So when I first started in my real estate career looking for a way to make money and a business model, the West Philadelphia was one of 3 neighborhoods I looked at. West Philadelphia, Manayunk, and Camden. I was convinced Camden was 20 years away. I think I was fairly accurate on that. I'm really glad I didn't start working in Camden at that time. And Manayunk, it was some of my first investment properties. But I was not a retail developer. That wasn't my model. So We were very successful in West Philadelphia, and moved my office to 55th and Chestnut, right in the middle of West Philly. And we hired 15 people, and they were all from the neighborhood. So there was a major component. Matter of fact, over the first several years of development in the affordable housing business, from the political environment in Philadelphia and in West Philadelphia, people often, and working with the communities and the community organizations, it was always, when are you going to put your office in West Philly? You're going to be another one of those white developers that come into, make money in the black neighborhoods and leave. And I heard this all the time. It didn't bother me, but I knew sooner or later we needed to move into West Philadelphia, that it was an important statement, which we did in 2001. We did a historic restoration of the home school at 55th and Chestnut. It was on the National Register of Historic Places. And that was my first experience with what you would call architecture. Anyway, from moving there, just from a growth process, I always went to University City to eat. I loved the university environment, the environment of, to me, a university environment is an environment of growing, expansion. I know what I felt, and I'm sure everybody here has their own story. We would go to school and just start out, and just expansion of ideas. We're getting a chance, those people fortunate enough to go to college, you get a chance to actually study and read if you take the opportunity. And you expand. So to me, it was so dynamic, and that was the background. And obviously, people here, most everyone is an architect. You went to school quite a bit. And so that expansion happened. So for me, being around University City, I just always thought it was dynamic. You can sense the growth, you can sense the excitement of people learning. And then, of course, you add to that the research that's going on not only at Penn, but at the Science Center. And there's a tremendous amount of cutting-edge research that's going on. And people are doing that, and the passion behind it is to change the world, is to do something that can positively impact people. So that was why I liked University City, as it, comparison to Center City, dynamically different. And then put the overlay of 40th and Market. So for me, as a developer, I looked at 40th and Market. I understood well the dynamics of the relationship between the African American community and the surrounding neighborhoods of Penn and Drexel, starting with Mantuawood, going all around, West Powelton, Mill Creek, and I understood how the tension that's continually been there, and to this day,